Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to round 6, the penultimate round of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod, and of course, we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski bringing you all the best views of tonight's action. So it was almost 75 years ago that sports car lovers first took to the streets of this sleepy little lakeside village in upstate New York and held a Grand Prix to which drivers and which cars reigned supreme, with a layout of over 6.5 miles and spectators cheering away from the sidewalks just inches away. It really didn't take long before the need for safety, not only for the drivers but also for those spectators, led to the construction of a purpose-built facility in 1956. And in addition to being the first permanent site of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, tonight's venue has also played host to IndyCar, to IMSA, and of course, the I Love New York 355 at the Glen. Welcome everyone to 90 minutes of no-holds-barred racing action from Watkins Glen International. So, good evening, Larry. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing very, very well. Happy to be here watching another great race at one of the best racetracks in the world, not just North America. I love this place. Can't wait to get this place going, especially with the new rescan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and with that new rescan, and we'll have to get Kevin Ford, who we're going to see in just a little bit with his track guy. We're going to have him make at least one more run here, because I think he has given us a track guide from the old version of the track. But so after spending the early rounds of the season on some smaller, tighter courses, which maybe weren't as well suited to the World Challenge as Watkins Glen is. Obviously, now we're winding down the campaign. The last 3 rounds last week, or probably 2 weeks ago, at the Circuit de la Sarthe at Le Mans, this week at Watkins Glen, and of course next week we're going to in 2 weeks, I'm going to get this right eventually, in 2 weeks we're going to wind things up at the National Park of Speed, Road America. We're finishing up this season at tracks that are just known for letting these drivers, shake the legs out, get the speed out, and just wide open racing.
Yeah, in this place in particular, it's not quite as wide open as Le Mans, but really, let's face it, what is?
Right.
But it has a lot of corners that's great for side-by-side racing. But ultimately, putting a pass down takes an extra leg of skill that I think we're going to have to wait and see who's got that skill to make those passes tonight. But some of these corners around here, just legendary, carousel, the whole boot section. I absolutely love this place, love racing here. I don't know that I'd want to do a whole lot of racing here in my real world car, but that's why we do this virtually. So these guys could run around here in GT3s, LMP2s, and tease the blue Armcos all they want without having to put their own personal bodies at risk. And I just think it's awesome to watch and to watch this type of action on this kind of track.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it here tonight. And like you, Larry, having raced at Watkins Glen in my race car a number of times, I feel like I'm testing luck, and it's one of these days it's going to run out. I feel much better in the virtual version, believe you me. All right, so let's do this, Larry. Why don't we turn things over, since I've already talked about it, why don't we turn things over to Kevin Ford? He's going to give us tonight's track guide of historic Watkins Glen International.
Welcome, everyone, to Watkins Glen International Raceway. Great to have you with us tonight as we come to you from Watkins Glen, New York, just up the road from beautiful Lake Seneca here. 3.4 miles is what it takes to get around this course, 11 turns, and a lot of technical sections. This course dates all the way back to 1956, and it is steeped in motorsports history. This place is one incredible track to drive. Let's head out of that final corner, and we're going to show you why. As we head down the front straightaway, you'll see why drivers just love this place. Grandstands to the left, pit area to the right as we cross the stripe and head downhill into this fast entry of turn 1, known as the 90. Hit that apex, come back to throttle, let that car drift out to pick up some speed, come up through the S's here of turns 2, 3, and 4. You'll notice turn 3 is a little bit blind on entry here as we come back to the left and back to the right now to head out onto the backstretch, the fastest portion of the course here for drivers, and also big overtaking opportunity coming into the bus stop, or what's known as the inner loop. Hug those bottom lines here, get a nice smooth run and exit out as we swing out wide for the entry to the outer loop, or it's commonly known to drivers as the carousel. Heading up over the crest and downhill into the chute of turn 6. One of my favorite corners here, looking for that apex, come back to throttle, let that car drift out wide, track out to pick up that momentum, down the hill into what's known as the toe. Yeah, the toe is part of the boot portion of the course here, which from an aerial view, it looks like a work boot, if you will. Drivers heading up the hill crest here. This is another little overtaking opportunity coming down into turn 8. Very tight right-hander. Not a lot of space here on exit. Really got to watch those tires. Don't let them get off into the dirt there. Into turn 9. This is probably one of the toughest corners on the track here. Get that car wide off exit. Boy, coming off that off-camber entry is very difficult. Into turn 10 here. Just a lift of the throttle, right back down, and into the final corner here of turn 11. up wide, a little bit of banking, can get a lot of speed off that exit and pick up some speed to come across the stripe and get that car up to about 150 miles an hour as we enter back into that turn one once again. There's your track guide for beautiful Watkins Glen, New York. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide. And, Larry, I'm not one to critique Kevin's driving.
Yes, you are.
But yeah, I guess I am. But as I mentioned, we have a new version of Watkins Glen here on the iRacing platform. Taking the Watkins Glen International was repaved in 2017, I believe, and the track has been updated. Not only the track surface, but the curbing. You no longer see that sprint banner across the pedestrian bridge right before start finish. But there have been also some changes to the off-track penalties or how iRacing determines whether or not you stay on track. And one of them is coming out of the 90 turn one. And if you run very wide of that, if you put all four wheels on the outside of that orange and red curbing, you will get an off-track penalty where you didn't in the version that he was running for the track guide.
Yep. In fact, as we were watching that video there, I've also run a couple of my own series here lately, and yeah, you can go just a little bit wide, but if you're not back, I think before that white concrete that was there, you will get yourself an off track, and in fact, even a slowdown if you carry it too far. So these drivers have to look out for that, especially on the opening laps, because as you start going down there potentially too wide, that outside car is easily at risk of putting themselves, not just for the 1X, which, okay, you pick one of those up in an hour plus race, not a big deal, but if you catch that slowdown, it's going to set you back early in the race.
That's right. And another place where you can get caught with that penalty, coming out of turn 10, that is the second to last turn on the course, sweeping cambered left-hander, very easy to carry a lot of speed, and there's a lot of extra asphalt there. And actually, we're seeing Arthur Chan come through turn 10 right now. You can see all the asphalt that's out there to slow drivers down if they run wide. Well, if you use all of that curbing and more and get all four wheels on the other side, you can get a penalty as well. All right, so while we have our drivers out for their qualifying session, we've got a couple of lap times in the books. Looks as though both Jake Gortson and Eduardo Lorente, who is back this week, have set times in LMP2. We're waiting for some other drivers to put in times. Why don't we do this, Larry? Why don't we look back 2 weeks ago to the Circuit de la Sarthe and Le Mans and just do a quick little recap here. We'll start off with LMP2, where Arthur Chan took the win with Victor de Zaraga finishing second, Charlie Bono finishing third, Jake Gortson coming in fifth, back behind, and here was the big surprise, Christian Eisler, who finished just ahead of him in fourth. That at the start of this race and all the way up until the very first of two pit stops, both Eisler and Chan were more or less nose to tail. Actually, they came in for the first pit stop. Eisler first one in, and I believe at that point, Chan was somewhere around 8 seconds or so back, but short-filled the car, actually made it out of the pits before Eisler, and on the outlap, Chan, over at turn 8, got underneath Bobby Childs, who was leading the GT3 AM class at the time, and a little bit of contact there. Didn't hurt Chan all that much, but Childs spun his car around, and as he was spinning, ended up collecting Christian Eisler and did a ton of damage to Eisler's car. He was in the pits multiple times to try and get repairs, and as I mentioned, he finished a long way back in fourth. But let's take a look at the championship standings right now, because it didn't hurt Eisler all that much. He still sits atop the championship right now in LMP2 with just 2 rounds remaining with 175 points, so he's still 11 points clear of the next closest driver. That is the number 50 Axon Driving Solutions entry of Arthur Chan. Then we've got Jake Gortson, another 26 points back from there. And then it's actually pretty close between Charlie Bono, Victor de Zaraga, 6 and 3 points back, respectively. But it is at this point, I think, Christian Eisler's race to lose. And he's had a couple of unfortunate finishes here, but with the drops, again, I think he still has the opportunity to pull things out over Arthur Chan.
Yeah, when he's managed to stay on that clean race, he's essentially won It's only when he doesn't. So with a couple of rounds here to go, he's got to make sure he keeps himself clean. He would go a long way to doing that tonight as we're getting a shot there. I think it's Jake Gortson doing a little bit of a spin through 9. Easy to do in that corner. But yeah, for Eisler, he just needs to really stay clean and be quick. And be interesting to see what kind of strategy he takes to try and do that, as well as what Arthur Chan can do to try and maybe steal a win tonight and push this thing to the last round.
All right, well, tell you what, Larry, before we go and talk about our GT3 classes, why don't we bring in our driver from the GT3 AM category? He drives the number 72 Mohawk Racing BMW. He's currently sitting third in the championship. I think the last time we saw him going into Le Mans, he was sitting second. So he might need to pick it up just a little bit. But everybody, welcome Andre Saunders to the commentary booth.
All right, Andre Saunders has joined us. Andre, a couple of laps in of qualifying. Are you just taking the break? Are you going to go back in and take the others here when we're done?
Well, he may be doing that now, Larry.
Yeah, maybe. he's on mute.
No, I'm here, guys. Sorry.
There he is. Hey, Andre.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing all right. So yeah, are you going to talk to us quick and get back out, or are you just going to sit on those 2 laps?
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit on that lap. I'm good with that qualifier.
Okay. All right. So yeah, last time out we were just talking about we haven't quite gotten to the full standings of it. Your Le Mans performance probably not certainly what we've been used to from you. Not your best outing, but sitting in third in the championship, a couple of rounds to go. Do you think you can still have a shot to take down these guys and win this AM class?
Well, that was the hope, but I think I'll be stretching a little bit to catch Jeff. I'm hoping to leapfrog Steve and get to second and finish up with second with just race and Road America left to go. So I'm hoping for the best. My Achilles heel is the pit stuff. I've been doing it, practicing it, so hopefully it goes thing, but that seems to be the thing for me to fix right now.
Yeah, you've had really some bad luck there with the pit stops, going back to Hungaroring and I think one of the later rounds as well. So it's good to hear that you've been practicing and focusing on that. That's a big thing with these events. Always have to make sure you hit the clean stops. Was there anything in particular that was hurting you in those, that was causing some of those extra long stops?
Well, I don't want to use anything for an excuse. It's definitely a lack of practice, but basically I have a real issue because I race in VR. So when anything goes wrong, it's very hard for me to kind of like do anything quick. Like when I had triples, it wasn't bad, but the VR is just like you're locked in and you get stuck.
Hard to reach for that keyboard and hit a certain button when you've got the headset on, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yep, I can understand that for sure. Yeah, so with Watkins Glen now, a little bit of a different track than Le Mans that we had last time out. You comfortable here? Obviously, you put down a pretty decent time so far, but what's your thoughts on this kind of track and the kind of practice you're putting in?
I tried to do as many laps as possible during the practice. I think I did pretty good. Again, preparation is always good. One of the biggest things that's getting me right now is, like I said before, it's just the VR, trying to figure out what happens when I come into fuel. So I'm kind of just locked in there. And I've just been practicing this track. I'm not too bad. I feel pretty comfortable at it. But you can feel comfortable and traffic does a different thing. So I'm just hoping for the best.
Well, it always helps to start on the front row, and so I'm looking at the standings right now. So far, you got about a 4/10 advantage on Bobby Childs there on the other side of you in the M class on the starting grid. So that'll help a lot. But you guys will be right there with the GT3 pros, if I'm not mistaken. So you're just going to be looking to try and stay clean down that first time down the long back straight?
Pretty much, yes, because the thing about this track is, especially because of the draft, you might be fast, but it's better just to be conservative. So I'm not looking to stay out front for too long. I'm looking just to kind of just settle in and just let the race come to me, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely a good strategy around this kind of a track, because it's very tempting. I think my experience is tempting to go side by side a lot of times here, because you can, whether it be the outer loop carousel or even down through some of the corners to the boot. It's easy to get caught running side by side with somebody. Next thing you know, you're catching one of those grass edges. So have you had a chance to practice much of that side by side, just in case you're in that position tonight?
Well, I might not do it in the live rooms, but pretty much what I've been doing is I try to do a lot of AI stuff to give me the side by side stuff. So I did a few in the week, and I feel comfortable. But again, with VR and traffic, I'm just trying to get used to my surroundings. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good luck tonight. Starting there right now, looks like still in the AM category on that front row. So hopefully that holds up for you, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk to you later tonight.
No problem, man. I appreciate it again, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Andre.
All right, there you go. Andre Saunders, driver of the number 72 Mohawk Racing BMW, currently running third in our AM category. And Larry, I think I just saw the best shortcut in racing here is Travis Schwenke.
He wanted to run the NASCAR loop. It looked like.
Yeah, just made the run from the outer loop all the way down to turn 10, and took about 35 cones down with him while he did it. All right, so let's do this. Since we were just talking to Andre, who is running third in the AM category, let's quickly go down and see where we are in the championship with that AM category. So I mentioned that Jeff Jacobs had his little run-in with our two LMP2 leaders 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago at Le Mans, and whereas he was leading the class when he got together with those two cars, well, he turned out to take the win anyhow. Lost a little bit of time with the spin there, but I don't think he ever gave up the lead, Larry, if I remember correctly. He may have briefly given it up to Steve Daniel, but he is
managed to hang on and sing that victory all the way home.
Yeah, exactly. And spin me round, right round, baby. Little Dead or Alive rendition there in the commentary booth. Hopefully we'll hear Jeff sing something a little more karaoke worthy here at some point before the season ends. So let's go. We'll quickly take a look here. Bobby took the win at Le Mans. Finishing second was Steve Daniel in the SKKJ Ferrari. Finishing third was Jeff Jacobs. Just off the podium, Russ Ruddick in his Flying Tortoise Motorsports Lamborghini. And then, as we mentioned, Andre Saunders came home in fifth. And a big surprise was that DB Bowman in his dysfunctional racing Audi R8 did not make the grid at Le Mans. He had come off his win in the AM category at Mid-Ohio, so he was not able to even put up a defense of that win. So let's take a look at the championship. We've got it on the screen there. No sense to wait. Jeff Jacobs, your current points leader, and he is up by 7 points currently over Steve Daniel, who only has a 2-point advantage over Andre Saunders. So if Andre can get those pit stops squared away over the last two races of the season, he has a chance to move up there, and he's still definitely not out of the points race, only 9 points back from our leader. Russ Ruddick currently sitting fourth in the championship with John Casey. Old reliable there, John Casey in his 046 Ferrari, currently sitting in fifth. And so as we're running down here, and we only have about a half a minute left to go in qualifying, very quickly here, great race at Le Mans. Caleb Lavender, for the longest time, first stint, led both Esteban Rodriguez as well as William Laster, and they all three pitted in. Well, actually, not all three of them. Lavender was the first driver to pit in, came in at 47 minutes. A lap later, Laster came in, and then Rodriguez stayed out for another 2 laps. Surprisingly, ran the fuel all the way down in that car. And both Laster and Rodriguez managed to come out ahead of Lavender after that pit stop. And Rodriguez and Laster going at it, both new to the Orion Racing team, started running with them last week. And Larry, I talk about drama. I didn't know who was going to win this race because it appeared that both of those Orion racers were running out of fuel on the very last lap. Laster and Rodriguez were moving anywhere between half a second to 3 seconds gap between them, and as they came in to the final chicane, it was Laster who was actually up by 3 seconds, and you just saw that he had no pace coming out of the chicane and was just coasting to the checkered flag. And Esteban Rodriguez took the win by 63 thousandths of a second as they both pretty much just coasted across the line, and they were basically trying to bump draft themselves around to get to the commentary booth after the race. So Let's take a look at the championship right now, where Caleb Lavender currently leads by 10 points over Esteban Rodriguez. Now, remember, both Rodriguez and Laster joined the series after the start of this season. So they've already got pretty much their drops already incorporated into the scoring there. Tony Kernan from Kernan Motorsports, 139 points, and only 2 points back from there is Laster. And you can see Schwenke only another point back in fifth. So still very, very close here in the championship. And Caleb Lavender definitely having to play defense. All right, so Larry, we've got our starting grid here after qualifying. Tell you what, I'll take the big class. I'll take the LMP2s, and then I'll turn the GT3s over to you. Starting on the pole once again with a margin of over half a second on the rest of the field. Christian Eisler in the Punto CL Racing number 727. Arthur Chan, he will start on the outside of the front row. And then we've got Eduardo Lorente and Jake Gortson. And then Charlie Bono will round out the LMP2 field.
All right, jumping over to the GT3 category in the GT3 Pros on the pole. Esteban Rodriguez in the Orion Racing entry. He's on that pole by a little less than a tenth of a second over his new Orion teammate there, William Laster. Those guys had a great finish last time out. Here they are starting this race in first and second right on that front row. Second row is your points leader in the championship, G2D Racing by Skull Sim Gear, Caleb Lavender. And alongside him is one of our Orion Racing drivers, Travis Schwenke. On row 3 on the inside, D2DE Racing's Chris Thorman, alongside a teammate there, and David Payton on his outside of row 3. We jump into row 4, Tony Kernan, and I think I caught he only got one lap in of qualifying. Ran out of time there at the end, so it'll be interesting to see his move to the field. He's in Kernan Motorsports. He'll be in the inside of row 4, alongside, well, we'll just say Kevin Ford. Although Kevin, I think, is going to be doing a little more admin booth stuff tonight.
Right. Over
in the AM category, we already talked to him. He's on pole in the Mohawk Racing entry, Andre Saunders, lined up alongside last week's winner from Le Mans, Bobby Childs, in the D2D Racing Skull Sim Gear entry. Row 2 of the AMs, on the inside, your championship leader, Jeff Jacobs, in the StreetSurvival.org entry, alongside Russ Ruddock from Flying Tortoise Motorsports. Row 3, he's second in the championship right now, starting this race on the inside of row 3, Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing, alongside Dysfunctional Racing's David Bowman in row 3. And on row 4 on the inside in 046 Racing, it's John Casey. He'll be alongside RFC Racing's Robert Brist.
There we go. And so Bowman back in the Dysfunctional Racing Audi here for tonight's race. Great to see him come in for this. And yeah, Larry, I guess Andre Saunders, he had a good feeling when he came in to meet with us after only 2 laps. He is your pole sitter, as you mentioned, in the GT3 AM category, up on Bobby Childs. We'll have to see if he can get some heat in the tire, something that's seemingly afflicted that BMW for a number of races. And I think, as he said, he's just going to kind of take it easy and let the race come to him. I think that's probably the best strategy.
Yeah, I think things are starting to come together exactly for him. You know, he had a long time there where the first lap of the race was a bit of a struggle. He seemed to get past that, and then, of course, he's had his pit issues. I think he's past that. Sounds like he's really been focusing on it. Be interesting to see tonight if he can kind of try and go out and do what he thinks he should be doing, which might be setting up to dominate this race. So we'll see how that goes for him in that AM category.
All right, and so you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen the pace car with our LMP2 field. All 5 cars there. They are now coming up towards that very difficult turn 9 off camber, decreasing radius, and anything and everything that could make a turn difficult for a racer. Turn 9 has it all. I think probably the most difficult course.
It's just so opposite of all the other corners on the track.
Yeah.
Everything else has a bit of camber to help you. It's fast. That is slow, off camber, painful, and it just catches you off guard a lot of times.
Yeah,
so
and you seemingly spend the whole time watching the Armco on driver's right to make sure you don't slam into it. All right, so the pace car now on the pit lane. And we've got Christian Eisler leading the field through the final corner, turn 11, waiting for the green flag, not from the iRacing system, but from a real live starter as they come onto the front straight. And we've got the GT3 field nicely lined up, coming up towards turn 10. And Eisler brings Arthur Chan down and the rest of the LMP2 field. And we have a green flag. And they are off. Yeah, very good run from Chan as they come down into the 90 in turn 1 for the first time. Arthur Chan, man, takes the position Isler is going to run second. Then we've got Gortson, Lorente, and Bono as our GT3 field now comes through the final corner, going onto the front straight as they wait for their green flag, with Esteban Rodriguez on the pole and with Laster on the outside. And we have a green flag in GT3 and not quite the jump that we saw in LMP2. And you can see now from the inside, Caleb Lavender side by side with Rodriguez. Was there maybe a little bit of a touch there, Larry, going into turn one?
Oh, it was awfully close. Looks like everybody's sorting things out, though, as they head up into the S's. Almost. They're still side by side, though. No one wants to yield. And this first straightaway is pretty critical because, as we know, in GT3, it's a very difficult track to make a pass on.
That's right, and as they head up the hill, we can see also now side by side, a little bit further back in the pack, where we've got Bobby Childs and Jeff Jacobs side by side as they are kind of bottled up right behind Andre Saunders going into the inner loop, into the bus stop for the very first time. They do straighten out to go over that curbing, which is maybe a little bit more aggressive also than we saw Kevin Ford show us on the track guide. And our GT3 drivers, they are going to head down into the boot for the very first time down at the laces. And there you go. You've got now your leader, much like he did at Le Mans early on, Caleb Lavender, leading the rest of the GT3 field. Now, if we jump back up, completing the very first lap of tonight's 90-minute race to the checkered flag, Arthur Chan. He is your leader. Our pole sitter, Christian Eisler, about two car lengths behind as they come through the 90. And we're going to see here whether or not Eisler tries to jump back to the lead. Now, that was how things started off at Le Mans also, Larry. If you remember, Chan had a pretty good start, but it didn't take long for Eisler to draft by, and again, everything then was controlled by traffic.
A lot more difficult to pass here than obviously it was at Le Mans. Great start, though, for Chan. I almost wonder if Eisler was in the wrong gear, because as I heard the starters say green flag, Eisler's nose was ahead. He just didn't accelerate.
Right,
Chan
not at
takes
all.
off. Yeah, takes that opportunity. Like I said, this is one of those tracks. It's big, it's fast, but that back straightaway is not that long, and the front straight's even less. So it's very difficult to make a pass. You've really got to be deliberate about it. Defensive driving can hold your position for a long time. We'll see what's in store here. It may come down to potentially having to wait for a mistake or pit stops. We haven't yet talked about pit strategies in LMP2s, but we know it always comes into play in these kind of races.
That's right, and for a number of the races so far this season, those pit strategies weren't much in the way of strategies, because we found that the drivers could probably go, if not with the 2 pit stops, but actually just a single pit stop if they ran very, very long. And so you found drivers running very similar strategies. That probably will not be the case here at Watkins Glen, as we jump back over to our GT3 field. And you can see here the D2D iRacing Ferraris all in a row coming up the hill, right back behind Tony Kernan. So we've got David Payton and Chris Thorman, and right behind them, Steve Daniel. And Daniel has those 3 GT3 Pro drivers that he needs to be able to get by to get into the battle with GT3 AM, where Andre Saunders continues to lead with Bobby Childs, Jeff Jacobs, your top 3 in that class. And you can see there as they're making their way up through turn 10, and that is sweeping very fast.
So one of the things we talked about at Le Mans, as the start for the GT3 Pro seems to be very similar, with Lavender getting a jump on Rodriguez and Laster and staying in that form. It allowed Rodriguez and Laster to really save a bunch of fuel.
Yes.
Because at Le Mans, you can draft forever, and if you don't want to pass, you just choose not to. Watkins Glen's a little bit different in that, that lead car, I think, can actually take an opportunity to save fuel if the cars behind them are being conservative. Because you know that if the car doesn't have the nose next to your nose going into this here, the inner loop / bus stop, if the car's not already up there, he's not going to get by. Gives you, if you want, the opportunity to potentially back off. A lot of mid-corner coasting can go on. Things that you can do at a track like this that you can't necessarily do at a place like Le Mans would give Lavender an even playing field to save fuel should he try. And as long as he's still hitting his marks, he might be able to save the fuel enough to at least offset any advantage that sometimes the second, third place cars might have.
Yeah, and again, that was the case at Le Mans, where Rodriguez was able to go 3 laps longer. That's 24 miles longer than than Lavender. And not to say that Lavender couldn't have gone a little bit longer than he did, but he chose to pit in rather early. And Laster was, splitting the difference there. And you're right, there's a big difference between just getting pulled down the Mulsanne straight lap after lap after lap versus here, obviously having quite a bit more elevation change. And in addition to that, you just don't have the long straightaways where the draft is gonna work for you all that well.
Yeah, and I think, here with this lead pairing now, they're already pulling away. It's Arthur Chan and Christian Eisler pulling away from Gortzen and Lorente. But even for these guys, I think Eisler's strategy now might be to try and save some fuel. But I've looked at their pace. These guys, their pace isn't that far apart either. It was, a couple of tenths, I know, in practice, I think, even earlier, which is a good indication of pace. So Eisler may have to work quite a bit to stick with Arthur. May not be able to do a ton of fuel saving. So I think there's a little bit more of an even playing field. He's just got to, if he thinks he could do a jump in the pits, it's going to have to be execution perfect of pit in, pit out, and maybe offset his stops to be able to lay down flyers. Arthur may be thinking the same thing, looking at his pit strategy and trying to do something a bit different. So it'll be fun to watch those two guys and how this little game of chess plays out.
Yeah, and not to pigeonhole Arthur, but he's kind of known for taking a very early first pit stop, and then trying to run long at the end. So we'll see if he goes the same way here. Especially where I think probably the biggest challenge that they may run into, Larry, not that it wasn't a big challenge for them at Le Mans, just ask Christian Eisler, was that is dealing with the GT3 traffic, and that may very much influence when one of these drivers goes to take their pit stop, and it might also affect the gap between the drivers. I look back to a couple of the rounds, and again, Mid-Ohio is a very, very different track than Watkins Glen. It races very differently, but there was a lot of a lot of changes in the lead there, primarily based on how and when they hit GT3 traffic.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio is almost the worst case scenario there for an LMP2 to try and make their way through traffic, because the things that they're really good at with the higher downforce car and getting through some of the twisty bits suddenly was negated if you caught the GT3 car at the wrong time. Here, there's a couple spots like that. Obviously, I think the whole section, turn 9, maybe even all the way back to the front straightaway, may be difficult for an LMP2 to get by. Yeah. But if they want to try, it is a wide enough track to get away with. And that's what's going to be fun tonight, is as we get to this overlapping period, which should start soon, does anybody have the guts to try it? Speaking of guts, I'm looking at that 64. That's David Payton going to see if he can get around Jeff Jacobs here going into the bus stop.
And Jacobs all the way to the inside to defend. He's going to hold off the two GT3 Pro drivers of Thorman and Payton for the moment, because he sees, I think, Steve Daniel kind of sitting back there, the third car in line, just kind of stalking, I guess we could say there. With those three Ferraris sitting right back behind the Lamborghini.
Yeah, they're losing sight of Andre Saunders and Bobby Childs up in the front, but they're having their own good little battle here with these guys. As you mentioned, it's kind of the four-way fight here with 2 in one class and 2 in another, but at this point they don't really care. They're Italian super machines here and just doing their thing between the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris.
That's right, and you can see in that trailing shot, Larry, as Arthur Chan and also Christian Eisler are indeed starting to make their way through the GT3 traffic. Chan making a number of passes on the sole of the boot. And I was just going to say that might be an area there coming out of the sole, heading up to heading over to the heel of the boot. Oh, and we've got a car that's gone around.
Was that Bobby?
That is Bobby Childs that goes and spins the car around coming out of turn 10, and he is facing counter race, looking for an opportunity to get that car turned around, and that opportunity is going to be once the entire field goes around. And now look at this, Larry, as both Chan and Eisler trying to come in underneath. I think that's David Payton right there, as they're then coming up on the Lamborghini.
Yeah. Interesting that Chan didn't even try to get by Jacobs through the S's. He took his chances to wait till after, manages to hold on to that position going into the bus stop. And that might have been one of Eisler's best opportunities. But for Bobby, my biggest worry about him right now is that he's going to sing that song again.
Oh, God. I guess it fits in perfectly. Oh, my God. Yeah, well, we'll have to
But
see. He's gonna have to work awfully hard, Larry, to find himself back up on the podium here tonight. So
luckily,
we may
his singing
save
career,
ourselves.
yeah, his singing career and his spins in iRacing are very similar. They are one-man shows. He didn't take anybody else out with him in this case, and everyone else looks like they were able to get on by pretty easily.
There
And
we
just
go.
like his singing career, everyone successfully avoided him.
There we go. As Arthur Chan gets underneath Tony Kernan, Eisler does as well. And let's see what Chan does as they come up on the back of Andre
That's
Saunders.
yeah.
Should be able
He's
to
the
sneak
AM
by him
leader.
here.
The AM leader there, trying to stay out of the way, and I'm watching these two. This definitely puts Eisler right up on the back of them, but really can't make a move.
No. All right, let's take a replay here, Larry. We've got Jake Gordson in his LMP2 machine. Let's see what happens. Oh, as he just absolutely smacks, not just smacks the wall, goes and rides up all the way on the extended version of the wall, up through the S's. That looked painful.
So that looks like one of the reasons why when we saw Arthur and we saw Christian coming through there in their cars just moments earlier, I think it's why they were being more patient coming up here through this section, through these S's, because it is so difficult to go too wide. And I think that's maybe what happened to Jake, because he got caught out. Beautiful, skateboard type rail move there to put it up on there. Not what you want to be doing in your Dallara LMP2 car.
No,
But look at this.
no.
Can they maintain? No, they don't. He backs off there. Does, I believe that is Peyton, I think.
Yeah, that is
Yep.
Peyton with Thorman trailing behind. And of course, as they ran down with Jeff Jacobs, Jacobs getting very defensive. And I'll tell you, Larry, and maybe it was just the shot, that camera angle as we were following those four cars into the bus stop. But it looked to me as though Jeff Jacobs was maybe millimeters from getting the Armco right at driver's right at turn, and that he might have turned in a little early.
This is going to be fun here, though, because this gives Peyton the run on the outside now.
Yes.
Coming down the sole of the boot. Can he make it stick as they go into the tighter here at the heel?
And it's very heavily cambered here, and it's
you
a
can
long
run wide
way
now.
around. Yes, he can, and that
He's
he
gonna make it
is
stick.
going to get by. And now,
Oh, look at this!
With the reversal coming underneath is Jeff Jacobs now, and
Crafty.
gets the position back. Great defensive move coming up through out of 8, coming up to turn 9, Larry.
I did not see that coming. I think Peyton didn't either. He was thinking, I got this easy. I'll set up wide, make the corner. Jacobs said, nope, I'm going to take that spot, and down he went. That's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and at what is really the slowest corner on the track, and did not have problems there getting grip from the car here. And now Jacobs is going to run very wide as Peyton just kind of, he made his position known. He came down, took the inside away from the Lamborghini, and so now it took a couple turns, but David Peyton moves himself up to 11th overall, and Thorman follows through as well. And that is going to put Jeff Jacobs back into the grip of Steve Daniel, as those two drivers now battle it out for second in GT3 AM.
I will say Jeff Jacobs is back to his widest car in iRacing form tonight. Couldn't hold them off forever as these teammates were able to get through. And if you notice there, it was Peyton that was finally able to make the first move to get by. He moved to the outside down the back straight and let Thorman to the inside. That is now why we've got Thorman ahead of Peyton as they make their way around in their two Ferraris. But that does put Steve Daniel second in the AM class championship points, right behind the leader there in Jeff Jacobs. These guys aren't leading this race, but they are first two in the championship, so that's what makes this interesting.
Yeah, and you can see we've got the Audi of Bowman, who's pulled up into this fight as well. He's sitting right off the 6 of Steve Daniel in his number 77 Audi. And, again, Bowman, who was not with us at Le Mans, was your winner at Mid-Ohio. And started from pretty much the rear of the pack in GT3 AM tonight, but I think with a little bit of luck here with traffic, has gotten right back up into this battle for the podium.
Yeah, and I see Russ Ruddock kind of peeking out from behind there as well. So there you see him there in his Lamborghini, right, catching up to this group. But here it looks like Steve Daniel's going to try and make the move into 1 on Jeff Jacobs.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that the Ferrari has good legs down the front straight, Larry, and maybe it's a question that the Lamborghini not getting a great run out of turn 11, but he manages to hold off, cuts right across the nose of Steve Daniel coming up into the S's, And I think this is where Daniel and maybe Bowman going to try and sneak down to the inside. Actually, it looks like Bowman. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
Bowman
good move
makes
by Bowman.
Yeah, makes
Yeah, he's going to try and push Daniel at least.
Yeah, just not able to get the nose up quite far enough, though.
Yeah, he's definitely sneaking around and trying to get in there on this. I think Jeff Jacobs needs to catch his breath. He's had such a fight there with the first two Ferraris. Now he's got the Steve Daniel Ferrari behind him, and trying to think the moves are going to be the same. But Steve's trying to mix it up a little bit, taking him in different spots, forced him there to go too wide in turn one, just like David Payton did a few moments ago. It didn't work this time, but I'll be surprised if we see that move again.
Yeah, and Bowman, he's got that desert sand camouflage livery. It might just be that Jeff Jacobs doesn't know he's back there. All right, so
a little bit of gap here, it looks like now for Jacobs, so he can breathe as we flash back to our leaders. Arthur Chan still leading Eisler. These guys are putting down a heck of a pace.
Yeah, I was to say where there's no gap, Larry, is there. And it looks like Eisler, he pulls back just a little bit, and that's not the first time I've seen him do it, where he does drop back a little bit, and maybe a little bit of fuel savings going into the bus stop. Loses maybe 2 car lengths as he kind of coasts through there, but again, kind of picks them back up in the straightaways as he gets into the draft.
Yeah, and he could be also just trying to watch his front tire wear, knowing that the end of the race is where this is going to be won. You take a step back a little bit, you get out of the aero wash of that car in front of you, and you can kind of keep those tires just a little bit fresher. So he could be doing things like that. By the way, the rescan here at Watkins Glen, you can now finally at 8 go wide left.
Yes.
And not be either hopping curbs or even catching. It's not even a 1X. You can go out to the grass line, not even catch an off track here. But really great to see how things drive in the real life now in the sim. As we flash back to the leaders in GT3.
Yeah, as we go back to Rodriguez, Laster, and now Lavender sitting in third. And of course, the last time we watched this battle, Caleb Lavender was your leader. He jumped out to that early lead over Esteban Rodriguez, but now sitting about 5 car lengths back from William Laster in third. Maybe, Larry, maybe he was paying attention after getting caught out at Le Mans. Maybe he is maybe sitting back just a little bit, although frankly, not exactly in the draft of
That's
William
part
Laster.
of the problem, I think. Yeah, Rodriguez is putting down one heck of a pace right now. And even his teammate Laster is having a little trouble keeping up with him. You see a second and a half on that gap. And we didn't see how the whole pass went down. As you can see, the lap times there just between the teammates of Rodriguez and Laster. And Laster just not quite keeping up with Rodriguez. Look at that, putting down that last lap by 42.0 for Rodriguez. Pulled another 3/10 on Laster and then 6/10 total on Lavender. Shows that Rodriguez is just flying around out here right now.
He certainly is, Larry, and looks like Travis Schwenke starting to make up a little bit of ground as well as the first 3 cars are starting to spread out. Schwenke starting to make up a little bit of ground on Caleb Lavender. And of course, Schwenke moving to that BMW M4 GT3 after a number of seasons running the Porsche 911, much like Rodriguez and Laster.
Yeah, these Orion guys really know how to set up the Porsches very well, as you can see.
Yes.
It's doing well for Rodriguez and Laster. Schwenke, they're taking the challenge of taking on the big beast, the portly BMW here in the GT3 ranks, and doing quite well. And I tell you what, if Lavender's not careful, he's going to have another Orion car right up on his tail. He's already given up positions to 2 of them. 1 more to go would make it a 3-way podium fight then for Orion there in the pro category.
Okay, so as Andre Saunders continues to stretch out his lead over the rest of the AM category, by although I believe Thorman's starting to close things down from the looks of it on Saunders. Still a great battle here going on. 3 cars battling it out for second in GT3 AM. You see there once again the widest, now the widest Lamborghini as opposed to the widest, instead of the widest Mercedes, the widest Lamborghini in GT3 racing, Jeff Jacobs in his StreetSurvival.org machine with Steve Daniel in the Lamborghini, the 96 car right behind, and then you've got David Bowman sitting not all that far back.
Yeah, Jeff's worked pretty hard there to try and hold off the first 2 between Thorman and, of course, Payton. But Steve Daniel, I think, is just kind of biding his time. He tried a couple of moves. They didn't work. think pretty soon here he's going to be looking to make another move. And these guys maybe now settled in without as much side-by-side. They're pulling away a little bit from Bowman behind them. And Bowman's probably thinking, hey, guys, come on back and keep fighting. Come on, fight.
Yeah, exactly. Please, 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 please.
It's when I'm sitting third watching first two play nice, and you're just back there saying, come on, guys, fight it out so I have a chance.
Yeah, so I can get back into this. All right.
Steve Daniel going to try at least filling mirrors, if nothing else.
That's right. So this time we've got Jacobs going to driver's right, coming down the inside, and the Ferrari of Daniel going to the outside, but the result is the same. And I love this run going down into the chute. I know Kevin Ford said that this is his favorite part of the track right here, going into the chute.
Yeah.
As you come into the laces, it just, the way it drops away and the way it's cambered, it just sucks your car in as you run down there. Oh, it's a great, great feeling and a great view also, because you can see, depending on, of course you should be looking towards the next corner, but if you don't, you can look and see this whole area here on the way down the hill. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love driving this track. I think I love it in slower cars, even something like the Miata or something is great here. Yes. But I do love those corners as you go down through, 6, 7, and 8, that whole boot section. I think that there's a great groove you find down there. And as you say, a lot of it's that camber right down to the apex. But there's absolutely a groove. You feel like you hit a rail just right when you got the car straddling those curves through 6 and 7. Ultimately, then you get up towards 8 and come on back out of it. Just some great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, this is going to put our leader overall in the race, Arthur Chan, catching up to that battle we were just watching right in front of him. So that's Steve Daniel and Jeff Jacobs.
And once again, he's got Christian Eisler sitting back behind him as they come down and to start the S's, and Chan giving lots of room to the GT3 cars to the outside. But you can see now Eisler caught back behind both of those AM category drivers, behind Jacobs and Daniel. And he's going to get by him going down into the bus stop, but you can see as there's Steve Daniels just trying to get onto the coattails of the 727 machine, just cannot do it.
He was trying to catch a little bit of the jet wash there and get some draft, but not quite enough. Still trailing his buddy there, Jeff Jacobs. Eisler picking and choosing his moments through traffic, maybe as we've seen in the past, maybe a little bit more conservative through the traffic than Arthur Chan is. Arthur always a little bit more aggressive, and you get into that rhythm, and I understand that aggression. You just don't want to get out of the rhythm. You see it, you want to get on by, and right now that's helped him stretch it out to about a 1.6 second lead. We'll see how long that lasts as we're 20 minutes into this 90-minute affair.
Thanks. Buckle in, guys. We're going to be here a while, so let's...
which means you talked about it earlier about as we get into the pit strategies and things. The LMP2 is at certain tracks, and this might have been one of them, that in a 75-minute race they could get away with essentially a single stop.
Right.
Not to be tonight. They're definitely two-stopping this thing. The question is going to be when. And you talked about Arthur Chan and his tendency to do odd stops, perhaps short fuel the first one, long fuel the second. We'll see how that works out tonight. And the key to me is going to be, if he does that and separates himself from Eisler, he would need to continue the trend of eating through traffic at a quick pace.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He definitely would, Larry. Yeah, we anticipate, well, not anticipate, but we think the LMP2 cars, they can probably make it about 22, 23 laps, about 34 minutes into the race before they would absolutely need to take on fuel. So, still about another 10 minutes or so before we hit the very end of that pit window.
Yeah, which means if you wanted to do something crazy, he could stop right now, fill the car all the way, go 34 minutes, fill the car, and run to the end. So I think for them, it's potentially, the pit window could be open even for them right now.
Yeah, I would suspect that it should be open. And like I said, we'll see, because Arthur Chan has a tendency to pit early, to short fill on the first stint, and then run long on the second. But a lot of times, Larry, that has been when he's been running from second place back behind Christian Eisler, and he's been trying to overcut him, and that may not be the case tonight.
Yeah, and it's a pretty decent-sized field tonight. We got about 20 cars total out there, and so if you're Arthur, your strategy is going to be, how do I find clean traffic? I don't know if any of these guys run with a track map, sort of like the old classic track map with the dots where all the cars are. It'd be great as one of the LMP2 cars. Where is there a gap? Since you don't have your crew chief there calculated. So Tony Kernan running wide.
Running very wide with Christian Eisler following behind as they came out of turn number 1. It doesn't hurt Kernan all that much. He is currently running 5th. He's made up 5 positions overall tonight so far, but luckily for him, nobody, at least in the pro category, near
him. Was he just trying to move aside a little bit there? For
I think that's what he was trying to do, is give Eisler a little bit of ground.
Yeah, he's lucky he didn't run too much there and catch any bit of that classic blue Armco.
As we continue to follow here, the battle for second in AM with, again, Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel. And not all that far back, just a couple car lengths back, is David Bowman in his Audi.
I think he's closed up just a little bit from where we saw him a minute ago. Yeah. Steve Daniel still kind of playing nice. Every once in a while he pokes out and sees if he can make a move. I think when the leaders, the LMP2s, came by, he was really trying hard to see if he could mix something up. Wasn't quite there for his timing, but I think Steve's going to be trying more moves here eventually. I think he, once Jeff makes even the smallest mistake, he doesn't make any, but if he does, I think Steve's going to try and pounce.
Yeah, and certainly the amount of defensive driving that we've seen Jacobs have to partake in so early in this race, might affect tire wear going towards the end of the race. And of course, you can see they're running a little wide through the heel of the boot, but with the GT3 cars, Larry, and I think we've talked about this before as to whether or not these drivers would take tires or not at some of the venues. With a longer race like this at the Glen, of course, the camber helps a little bit, but if you were very defensive, it might make sense to grab probably 2 left-hand tires here. The problem is that the way the GT3 cars work is you can't change the tires while the fueling is going on.
Yeah, it's not like when we watch those Miata races. Those guys do that all the time. They'll take 2 tires on the left or whatever, while the fuel's coming in, but it doesn't help you here. It just hurts you. You're better off just kind of limp the car home and or try and baby those tires a little bit. But like you said, Jeff Jacobs hasn't had much opportunity to save his tires tonight.
No, he hasn't. No, he's been under attack for pretty much since the drop of the green flag. And it looks like Arthur Chan having a little trouble there over at turn 8. Now, I know both drivers, you can see they're trying to carry as much speed, and as you said, Larry, you can use every little bit of the runoff there. But even on the run into turn 8 there over at the heel of the boot, it looked like Chan's car got very, very loose pre-apex. And, we'll have to see. I don't think he's driving the wheels off the car at this point, but might have just been a little...
could have been lockup,
lack of concentration or something.
Yeah, easily you can get a little bit of lockup. These cars do not have ABS. It's always a possibility. The other would be is if you catch just a little bit of that grass edge under braking on the outside. And if you watch these guys carefully, there's a lot of places around Watkins Glen you can do that. These curbs, alongside the car are not very wide, and you get stretches. You can even see it there where the white painted line is essentially almost touching that grass. So if that becomes a braking zone, easily could touch tire on and cause a bit of that step of the car on turn in.
So I was just going back through the YouTube chat, Larry, and apparently Arthur was listening to our pre-race show. And he says that the only weapon that he has against Christian Eisler is to throw GT3 cars at him, which might explain Le Mans. I don't know.
There may have been something in that effect in play at Le Mans. So far tonight, he hasn't thrown any, but he certainly is using them as good picks to dive his way on between. And you can see what happens when there's none around. Christian Eisler's so good, closes right back up again. And here he is, essentially 2 car lengths back at the 30-minute mark. One of these guys is going to have to pit, or both, very soon.
Very soon, yes.
As it looks like Charlie Bono is taken to the pits. First of our LMP2s to go in. Jake Gordson has also pit. Jake was in for a few minutes after the accident that we saw.
And you can see here we've got the split screen now. We've got that battle for second in GT3 AM. Again, with Jeff Jacobs in the Lamborghini, Steve Daniel in the Ferrari, with Bowman a couple car lengths back. And the battle for the lead overall with Arthur Chan and Christian Eisler on the left-hand side of your screen. But
Yeah, Arthur
Larry,
got a pretty
I
good
don't
run.
want to jinx it, but it's been a nice, quiet race so far this evening.
Yeah, by the way, as you said that, did you see the bit of dirt kicked up by Arthur Chan as he
Yes.
turns into the bus stop there? That's what I was talking about. That grass is right there. You think, oh, it's just guardrails. It's almost like a street circuit around here, except they've left 2 feet of grass between the guardrail and the track everywhere, just enough to mess with you.
Just enough to send you around, exactly.
But yeah, he did get a good run off of turn 1 all the way down to that bus stop. That allowed that lead to stretch to almost 9/10. So he has moments out here. We can pull it a little bit, or Eisler is backing off. But Arthur looked pretty good there. Probably queuing up for another round of GT3s. In fact, my strategy would be, if I'm in the position of Arthur right now, I got good clear track. The first time I come up on a pack of GT3s, I'm going into the pits.
And you know,
We'll see
Larry,
if he takes that.
that's right. And so both Dennis and Jonathan, I think they were reading my mind as I was quickly looking at our timing screen here to see where we stood with GT3 Pro. And you can see here what was a 3-car battle, no longer. It is once again Esteban Rodriguez and William Laster, and they appear to have dropped Caleb Lavender, as Lavender now about 5 seconds in arrears, actually almost 6 seconds. So quite a distance back. And I think from the looks of it, Schwenke, and you have to ask yourself how things might be different if Schwenke didn't have that little bobble, or I don't know what the heck you want to call it, going through turn 1 when Christian Eisler and the LMP2s were coming through. But you can see now in this shot, as we look at Caleb Lavender, if we pan out maybe just a little bit, you can see Travis Schwenke's BMW not that far back as they come through the 90 and start making their way up through the S's.
Yeah, and so Schwenke, definitely a good opportunity here to make up some ground and to try and maybe catch up to Lavender. But I think what's going on here is Rodriguez and Laster are blistering this place right now.
Yeah, they're just pedal down.
Yeah, you look at the lap times. Lavender and Schwenke are running, low to mid 42s, 42.3, 42.4. Esteban Rodriguez last time by a 41.7. William Laster a 41.6. These guys are turning their best lap of the race 30 minutes in on these tires. This is insane.
All right. Well, tell you what, Larry, I'm hesitant. Hopefully, Dennis. Hopefully, we can stay here for a couple more minutes. I know we were looking at taking a break at the top of the hour, but I think we're getting probably pretty close to that pit window for the LMP2 cars. Maybe we can hang out for a few more minutes. And I get the word back from Dennis, no problemo. So let's stick around for a little while, Larry, and we'll see if we get our first pit stops in LMP2 here in just a few moments, because I think, as we mentioned, we're probably getting pretty close to the end of their pit window. Yeah,
and there you can see Chan. You can see in front of him, actually, is one of the LMP2 cars. That's the 27 of Charlie Bono, who's already taken his pit stop, but they are catching up to him. The fact that it's an LMP2 car means the pace is a little stronger, a little bit more difficult to get on by than perhaps the GT3. Don't be surprised if this is basically the in lap for Chan, and I just see Rodriguez and Laster both just doing faster than they did before as their lap times popped up. This is insane.
Yeah, as they're dropping fuel out of that car. And this is what I was going to say, Larry, that I think Chan was going to probably be influenced quite a bit by what Charlie Bono ahead does, because if he had if Bono was even just the slightest bit hesitant going around some of these GT3 cars, it could really affect both Chan's and Eisler's ability here. And now you can see where Eisler, as you just said, having some trouble getting around Charlie Bono. That's opened things up a little bit for Arthur Chan. Perhaps Chan stays out for another lap, and it looks like he will. Just because it looked like he was going to open up the gap. If I were, if it were me, and I was Christian Eisler, I might have gone in and taken the pit stop. But it looks like Eisler is going to stay out and try to close things back up.
Yeah, he is, and I'm looking out in front of him, and these guys probably know better than we do. They'll look at their relative screen on track position, see what's going on in front of them. But I know there's a couple of GT3s not far in the distance ahead.
Well, here you go. It's going to be Bowman. It's going to be Daniel and Jacobs.
Yes, and the other two you just mentioned are going through the bus stop right now. These guys are going to be on them very quickly. So for Chan and Iser, pit times are coming, and sometimes no time is like the present. Although Arthur was able to get by, trying to get by Bono there pretty easily. Maybe not when he gets to the next group. So
right,
He's watching that carefully as there is Steve Daniel right in front of him.
And he might get to Daniel. Yeah, it looks like just as he comes up the hill out of the toe of the boot. The question then will be the yellow Lamborghini of Jeff Jacobs, whether he can do the same.
Oh, this is almost perfect for Arthur. Had that position, got run a little wide. Probably didn't mean to there, but able to get a by. And they both also does Steve Daniel and probably also going to be Jeff Jacobs moving aside for Christian Eisler.
Yeah, and actually Eisler, I think, had a little bit better luck than I would have thought dealing with Steve Daniel. But lo and behold, when he comes up on the Lamborghini, it gets a little more difficult.
Looks like Arthur Chan is going to the pits.
Chan is in to the pits. Eisler, he's going to stay out and go at least another lap, and we'll see where we end up now as our leader after our leader from the start of the race, Arthur Chan, coming down the pit lane to take his first of likely 2 pit stops this evening.
The only gauge we got so far in LMP2's pitting is Charlie Bono, 33-second pit time. We'll see if that was anything influenced that, or if that's what we're going to see out of Chan. And Eduardo Lorente, of course, coming in right behind him.
Right, and we'll see if that car goes up on the jack stands, Larry, to see if it goes on the air jacks to take on any tires. I haven't seen any movement from it yet.
I might be a bit surprised to see that, and the only experience I've got is I just participated in the 12-hour virtual iRacing at Sebring just a few weeks ago, and we were triple stinting tires on fuel, so we were able to run essentially, close to a 2-hour stint on the same set of tires without a huge performance drop. Yeah, that's a pretty good stop there. 24 seconds for Chan. So we'll see what that looks like for Lorente still in his pit stall, and Eisler doing at least one more lap.
Right, and you can see there is Eisler now coming out of the heel of the boot with about a 47-second advantage over Chan. And if we take a look at Larry at the pit lane time, it was about 56 seconds.
So interesting. This is now looks like stopping for Eisler. So Lorente and Bono both 33 seconds in their pit stall. Arthur Chan only 24.5. Let's see what Eisler does. But I'm wondering. Yeah, I wonder if he short fueled the car.
And I mean, last round at Le Mans, that's exactly what he did. He came in to the pit lane 10 seconds behind Christian Eisler and beat him out of the pits for that first stop. And again, who's to say what would have been if we didn't have that incident later on the very first lap out of the pits. But let's see here as Eisler now at a full stop, taking fuel on.
With that pit lane speed, I think it's 40 miles an hour here.
Yeah, it's 40 at Watkins Glen.
So slow. Consider the average speed around this place is about triple that for these guys. Doing 40 through the pit lane just looks like they're stopped.
And here we go, Arthur Chan on the front straight.
He's going to resume the lead. The question is, how long is Eisler stop, giving us that indication of fuel?
And Eisler still in his pit box. We're at 34 seconds now and on his way. Almost 34 and a half seconds in the pit box. On pit lane, 10 seconds longer than Arthur Chan. Where have we seen this before, Larry?
Yes, this is definitely the sequel coming true again. So just to take a look, it's about 11 seconds between these two drivers. Let's watch how this progresses over the next 20-25 minutes to see if it's still 11 seconds or if traffic begins to create an accordion effect with that gap.
All right, well, let's do this. I think we've got quite a while, likely, before we see our GT3 drivers come in for their pit stops. We'd say that, actually, they're right in the middle of the window. But let's do this. Why don't we take a quick break? We're going to thank some of our sponsors and come back with action all the way to the checkered flag here. But first, before we go and take that break, if you like what you're seeing here, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell to find out about all the great motorsports action when we go live on YouTube. All right, so let's take that break, Larry, and we'll be back in a few moments for the remainder of round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, live from Watkins Glen International.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And welcome back to Watkins Glen International for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, powered and presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, I will tell you that this is no cheese at 355 at the Glen that we have going on here tonight. It is a great battle here between Rodriguez and Laster, and they continue to just turn in absolutely blistering laps here.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that they're keeping this pace up.
Without those two guys, we'd be talking about this great race that's developing here between Caleb Lavender and Travis Schwenke, and the blistering pace they appear to be putting on, turning low 42s, and the rest of the field's all in the 43s. Except that Rodriguez and Laster are turning mid 41s right now.
Yeah.
40 minutes into this race, just checking out on your championship leader, Caleb Lavender. I'm just stunned at the pace that they're putting down.
Yeah, I mean, and remember 2 weeks ago at Le Mans, after a while, Lavender just wasn't able to keep up the same pace. He, fell further and further back during the race. But this is I think the hallmark of both Rodriguez and Laster is they just seem to have hammered down from the start of the race to the end, and they're both so equal.
Yeah, absolutely are. And now that they're teammates, and I know between them they want to try and win this championship in the first season that they're joining here in the Ricmotech series. And honestly, Caleb Lavender's got to do everything he can to continue to pedal and hope to collect some points. Oh, and Steve Daniel is off to the side there after the exit of 10.
What is it with GT3 AM drivers spinning out tonight, Larry?
What's with it with those Ferraris there? Yeah.
Yeah. At turn 10 is the 96 car.
Too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of damage to the left front, and he's going to come into the pit lane.
Good time to pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because that takes away a really good battle there that was going on with Jeff Jacobs.
Yeah, and, hopefully, Dennis, maybe we can hopefully we can get a replay up and see exactly what happened. And there we go. Ask and you shall receive. Queued up. Here is and he's all by himself, Larry, coming into 10. Oh, and into the foam barrier there. That was a heavy hit. Turn 10, an incredibly fast turn. And as you can see there, if you get out of the groove just a little bit at the apex, that's exactly what you'll see happen. You get onto the throttle, and the rear end just comes right around on you.
I think the crown of that pavement can catch off if you don't have your turning done as you exit that apex, and you're still trying to hold on a little bit. You get to the over that crown, the car just steps, and it really caught him there. Probably the same way that it caught Bobby Childs earlier in this race, but for Bobby, he was able to get away without smacking a wall. Not so lucky there for Steve Daniel.
All right, so we're back in watching this battle. This is the battle for now third place in GT3 Pro, and we saw Travis Schwenke just march through the field and get up right to the back of the Audi of Caleb Lavender. And at this point, though, as we've said, Larry, it's one thing to, you can be a second and a half faster than the guy in front of you, with nobody around you, but it is so incredibly difficult to affect the pass around this course.
Yeah, you've got to be faster in the right spot, or you've got to really combo the corners. If you can be faster through turn 1 and get that run all the way up to the bus stop, that's your best opportunity. If you can't, you're stuck doing combos. You're stuck pushing somebody maybe through 6 as you enter the boot, holding them the outside maybe through 7, or pushing them the inside through 7, and maybe making your pass at 8, or even having to wait until you get up to 9. That's how difficult it is around here. The best of the drivers out there can do it on good days. For us, folks like you and I, yeah, that ain't gonna. I'll give up those spots in those. I'll make somebody else look good. I could never make those passes. But for right now, Travis Schwenke may have to put one of those in, because I think that Audi's got pretty good legs down that back straight.
I was just going to say, coming up through the S's and making the run down to the bus stop there, for a second it looked like Schwenke might have had a decent run, and then it just stopped, and he was only able to get up to maybe a car length back from the Audi. And yeah, it appears as though the BMW perhaps a little bit stronger through this portion of the course, and it definitely looks very strong coming through 9 through that very slow left-hander. But once the cars get straightened out, it just doesn't seem to have the top end that the Audi has.
He may need to start looking at one of those combo moves where you just got to get your nose alongside and force the other guy off the line for a couple of corners. And you got to be precise when you do it. You just move them a car width across. You stay there to the next corner. You push them to the inside. You hold it for another corner. You push them to the inside. And as you do this every time, these corners are wide enough that you can start to get further and further alongside. If you do it the right way, and if you're on the outside, left side, and turn 8 at the heel of the boot, by the time you get to 9, you're on the inside, and that's the corner where you've got the advantage, and that might be what Travis Schwenke may need to do in order to make this pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the run.
You basically make them compromise each corner just a little bit more and a little bit more as they lose exit speed.
The BMW's got the run here, but it's almost like the Audi has this top end, unless Travis can get a better run here. No,
and
he's
this is
off.
right about where it ends, and you see
He backed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he could have even tried to get to the inside. It's almost like Caleb was giving it to him. Decided not to take it and back out. Maybe he's saving some fuel. But honestly, these guys fighting for third at this point, fighting for that last podium position, because Esteban Rodriguez and William Laster are just flying out in front. Second and a half between them, but almost 13 seconds then back to this battle for third.
And Rodriguez now, at least for the time being, opening up just a little bit on William Laster, about a second and a half separating them now. And I'm wondering if maybe Laster just decided keeping up that pace wasn't the smartest thing. Maybe dials it back just a little bit and tries to save a little bit of fuel.
Possibly, yeah. And save a little bit of fuel. Maybe try and save a little bit of tire so that you don't completely exhaust that bank at such an early point in the race, knowing there's still half of the race to go, just about.
And still on the pit lane getting some repairs is Bobby Childs. Looks like Robert Brist now pitting in from 6th, now sitting in 7th in GT3 AM in his Mercedes AMG GT3.
Yeah, we didn't see why Bobby would be getting some repairs there. He did get through lap 24, so he's only about 2 laps behind the rest of this field. But clearly, yeah, at 4.5 minutes into that pit stop, he doesn't appear to be coming back anytime soon.
No.
Saunders, though, as we got the shot of him, able to get another fastest lap for him, but personal best so far for this race, and 22 seconds now up on the second place car in that class.
Yeah, I mean, look, during the pre-race interview, he said he was going to let the race come to him, and I'm not going to say any more.
Yeah, well, he certainly has taken the race by the scruff of the neck in the way the race didn't see coming. So we'll see. He's got about 41 minutes to go, but slow and steady is not really what he's doing. He's going fast and steady right now.
So, hey, Larry, I don't know if you've seen this, but if you look down in the green room, apparently he's willing to speak to us from the pit lane.
Do we need a no singing rule?
Well, maybe.
All right, yeah, we can bring him in.
All right, tell you what, everybody. Since he's just kind of hanging out there, why don't we bring in Bobby Childs, driver of the number 88 D2D iRacing Ferrari.
Bobby Childs, we know that last week you sung it. Tonight you did it. You actually went out there and spun yourself around, but you're back in the pits now. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm here eating ice cream. I felt like it was time for a treat. No.
What are you like, watching Days of Thunder now or something?
Oh, yes. Harry Hogg, the best crew chief ever. Absolute legend. Yes.
Hey, real quick, Bobby. Just want to show everybody you got it right in front of you. As a matter of fact, as we've got your teammate Caleb Lavender as well as Travis Schwenke in the pit lane at exactly the same time, and we've got the number 7 of Tony Kernan right back behind you.
Yeah, Caleb is so focused tonight. Like he wasn't even in the chat. Like he's just he is so spun up trying to find more pace because the Porsches are a little quick right now on iRacing. I don't think there's any way around that. If you've watched any other series running at Daytona or even here, Emsa's been at the Glen all week, and it's definitely been Porsche Cup on iRacing here. So I don't know if Christian Chalner, if you're watching this, man, maybe time for a little BOP tweak there, buddy.
Well, you're making your case for sure. And what's not helping their case right now is Esteban Rodriguez and William Blaster. These guys are fantastic drivers, and they're making that Porsche look like an LMP2 car at this point. I mean, Esteban just a lap or so ago did a lap in the 40s, of 140.9. Backed it up with a 41.2 last time by. These guys are screaming around here 51 minutes into this set of tires. It's insane.
Yeah, you definitely can't fault those guys' pace and the work they do. But it's there's definitely a little bit of a gap in the platform too. Definitely at some of these tracks where high speed seems to come into play. Seeing the Porsche really fast at Daytona, it was really fast at Le Mans too, which was surprising. So it may be maybe some tweaks coming Thursday in the patch for the GT3 category overall. I think. One big thing we're seeing is drivers complaining about the downforce and the grip. There's actually too much. So there are turns out here where we're able to go flat out that we shouldn't be and things like that. So we'll see what happens in the patch.
Okay. Well, as we know that the iRacing folks continue to work on that, it's a constantly evolving deal. Specifically GT3s, they really focus on trying to get this right. I know there was a big update to them, relative to the field just at the end of last season. So they're continuing to tweak, which is always good, especially for a series like us where we overlap multiple seasons. We've got to really, the guys in our series have to keep an eye on that as well as it comes into play. But I will tell you that Rodriguez and Laster are just on another level right now. But the battle of your teammate Caleb Lavender and Travis Schwenke, the other Orion driver in the BMW, fantastic battle. These guys came into the pits a car length apart. They came out of the pits nose to tail. This is the battle for third, but it may as well be for the lead. They're having a great one.
Yeah, Larry, and I was going to say, and it looks as though Jeff Jacobs, he's going to pull over just a little bit to the right coming into the chute and let those two drivers by so that they can continue on that battle.
Yeah, we'll see if, as we talked earlier, if Travis can try one of those combo moves around this end of the track down here in the boot. But I think that Caleb's just quick enough here. We know he's got that top end going down the long back straight into that bus stop, but he looks really good coming off a 9, not giving any opportunity to Travis to try and undercut him.
Yeah, it's definitely been very exciting. And, Jeff can easily let those guys over because he does not have me to contend with.
That's right.
Right now. Man, I worked on that setup. I've spent so much time here with the new build. There's a weird thing happening with the rear end of the Ferrari, and I know it's not affecting every driver, but basically all of us on D2D running the Ferrari, we had the same problem with Indianapolis at Le Mans, is the car just wants to over-rotate and snap oversteer, going into some of those high-speed sweeping corners like Indianapolis in turn 10 here. And we've actually fought all week to try to get a stable setup going. And that's exactly where I lost it both times, was turn 10. The car just wants to rotate right on around. And, you know, a lot of these guys have got it figured out. But for me, it's almost like this new build, I have to drive the car completely differently now.
Well, we watched Steve Daniel do the same thing in that turn 10, smack that wall on driver's left pretty hard. It's taken him out of this. In fact, I think he may be back out there now, but it's some pretty heavy repairs he had to take on. So, yeah, I think you're right. That's happening. I did get a chance to drive one of the Lamborghinis on like the fixed medium setup here over the weekend. I had that problem you're describing in the Ferraris where it just wicked step mid-corner. In fact, I had it on this track, and I was having it in turn 10 for short. And I was even getting it going down into entering the laces of the boot down there in 6. So some of these GT3 cars, those mid-engine ones, they've really made it difficult, I think, on the Ferrari specifically, but I think even in the Lamborghini. So the guys in the Porsche, maybe a little bit of an advantage as we're watching now. The 2 leaders just came in for their pit stops.
That's right. If Bobby looks out his windshield, he'll see both Esteban Rodriguez and William Laster now both back underway and like mirror
Dennis
images
and Jonathan,
of one another.
Of course, going on board with the camera work from Bobby's car.
That's right.
Yeah, if you were able to turn it around, you would see me sitting here enjoying a CM Punk ice cream bar.
You and Bobby Duvall just having ice cream there on the pit lane. Oh, we got some action here. That's Caleb. That's Travis. A bit of a wreck at the pit entry coming off of 11. Not sure what happened there.
No, yeah, and so Schwenke looks like he went around right at the pit entry. Lavender continues on, and we'll see if we can. And I'm looking to see if there's any. There's a lot of damage on the back of Lavender's car. The wing, as you can see, is all bent up, and it looks like the right rear also might be bent up a bit as well. As we were checking, as Andre Saunders was in the pits from the lead in AM, and he's back underway. But yeah, hopefully we can get a playback here, Dennis and John. All right, let's see. We've got it queued up. Let's bring you the action as they went through turn 12 side by side. As Lavender, and which LMP2 car was that? Was that
the number 12?
That was the number 12.
Oh,
Thank you. How did you see that? As we had the number 12, which is Jake Gordson, getting together with Caleb Lavender coming through turn 12, and it looks like Travis Schwenke got caught up trying to avoid as well. So that battle right now, not much of a battle any longer. Travis Schwenke now sitting in fifth as
and that car is not running at full song.
Neither one of them right now is running very well, Larry.
No, and that just moves Tony Kernan then up to that third spot, who's having a reasonable night for him. But I don't see Caleb Lavender continuing here. That car is just crawling around this place right now.
It is such a shame, too.
And you can see as he's fighting the heck out of it. And let's see, he's going to keep it out there if he can keep it off the wall. He's going to at least try to make another run at it. But lots and lots of issues with handling, certainly at the rear end of that Audi now, Larry.
Oh, yeah. And Schwenke's having his issues as well, too. That's just completely unfortunate for all 3 of them. We talked earlier about Jake Gordson and the troubles he had going up the S's there and catching the wall, took his repairs on, and then unfortunately gets tangled right there in the middle of this battle for 3rd place in this pro class. And Bobby, you were saying all the work that Caleb's put in to try and continue to build speed and continue to get going. Some of that work was paying off, and unfortunately, that's just going to end in a rough night for him and a little bit of frustration, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speak on what the officials may or may not say out of that incident, because that is involving one of my drivers. But it is extremely unfortunate. Caleb really wants to get some wins out there for Skull Sim Gear, and I want to get some as well. And it doesn't look like it's going to work out for either one of us, either in pro or am tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough night. As you can see, the Tanner, I can't believe he's still driving that car. I'm telling you what, I don't know that I would continue, but he's a trooper, want to continue to get out there. As you mentioned, he definitely wants to do this for the folks there at Skull Sim Gear. Really get their name out. They've been so good to you guys. And unfortunately, him right now, he's dealing with a pretty well bent up car.
Yeah. All right, Larry. Looks like we've got another camera angle of the incident over at turn 11. with Gortson and Lavender. Lavender pinched all the way to the inside, as you could see here, and just not a ton of room on exit there. Didn't unless Lavender was going to stay all the way under the curbing, practically heading into the pit lane. He wasn't going to have much. And look at this, Larry, because it happened right in front of our leader, Arthur Chan.
Oof, yeah.
And Arthur Chan just somehow manages to avoid.
Did not see that the first time.
No,
yeah,
either did I. And he just somehow managed to avoid that whole melee there by about 6 inches or so.
I tell you what, Jeff Jacobs looked at all that and said, you know what, guys, good time to pit. He just dove in to get his pit stop right as all that was happening in front of him as well, and to keep his night alive. But, man, that was a close call for Arthur. And he still has to make a pit stop to go, which I suspect could be pretty soon, as we don't want to lose sight of that. His gap right now to Christian Icer, about 10 seconds. It was just about 11 when they did their pit stop. So as of right now, I think they're still suiting up to be a pretty big, even battle.
Well, and funny you should say that, Larry. There he is, Arthur Chan, about 2/3 of the way through tonight's race. He comes down the pit lane for his second and likely final pit stop.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's not going to come out with Icer this time because, Icer will still have to make his stop. But we'll keep an eye again on those gaps. It was about 10 seconds when he came in. Probably ballooned to about 45 or something like that. And then we'll watch to see what Icer does for his last stop.
And Larry, I'm getting word now from the stewards. The stewards have assigned responsibility for that incident between Caleb Lavender and Jake Gortson to Caleb Lavender. He is going to have a drive-through penalty.
Interesting.
And you could see there, I think that may be some frustration from Caleb Lavender.
Yeah.
As
I'm going to say this. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
That is. I'm not going to say anything else from this point on. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
We'll let him file his appeal with the stewards on that one for sure, and hope that works out in the end. The stewards over the course of time in this series have been pretty good, but we'll see what they say about this one. Unfortunately, the only thing about that decision is probably not going to make much of a difference in the night there, how it's going to end up at this stage, considering the damage that Caleb's got on that car.
Yeah, and again, I'm very unfortunate as Caleb was our leader in GT3 Pro coming into the evening. Drops notwithstanding, so that's certainly going to affect how this season plays out, I think, in GT3 Pro with just this race and one more this season. But we've got our leader, our former leader, Arthur Chan, back out on track on his outlap, trying to make his way through the field. And Larry, he is currently sitting, let's see, about 50 seconds back.
50 seconds, okay.
And
so this will be interesting
were...
now. There's Eisler, the new leader. Of course, he has one stop to make. If he can get in and out in under 50 seconds, it'll put him ahead of Arthur Chan. If he can't, it'll be a duel to the finish. I think either way, it's going to be a pretty fun little duel to watch.
Yeah. And I'm going by, if you remember, Larry, the first pit stop that Arthur Chan took was, which was the short fill, was about 51 seconds from one end of the pit lane to the other. So just keep that number in hand, and we'll have to see. I think it's going to come down to fuel consumption for Eisler here. Obviously, he's going to need to take that, not take that, but go a little bit shorter than Arthur Chan.
He's doing what he can right now to pick his way through traffic, going around Jeff Jacobs there, and then of course got Charlie Bono in the 27 in the other LMP2 car right in front of him. And for Christian, he can go a little longer. He doesn't have to stop yet. Obviously, taking on that full load of fuel the first time at that 37, 38 minute, whatever it was, probably could carry himself to, we'll say probably around that, hour and 10, hour 12 maybe before he's going to have to stop again. So it might be another 10 minutes before he makes it into the stop. And at that point, we'll have a pretty good indication of where they're going to end up. Both these guys right now are fighting for every traffic pass. They don't want to waste any time because they know the battle's still to come.
All right, Larry. So I think Dennis has a replay queued up for us here. Let's take a look. And this is Laster and Arthur Chan. I look at as Laster comes through the bus stop, and loses the rear end of the car and impacts the wall from second place in GT3 Pro. And he looks like he had enough of an advantage over Tony Kernan, Larry, that he's able to hold on to second position, but obviously that is going to open things up quite a bit for Esteban Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez now has somewhere around 14 seconds. Actually, we're showing now a touch over 13 seconds separating those two drivers for that battle for the lead in GT3 Pro.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit crazy here tonight as all these guys are fighting. This is some intense stuff. Nobody wants to give up anything there, and unfortunately, it's affecting some of our leaders. So there's a good shot of Laster there. The car looks like it's doing okay. Doesn't seem to be much damage. The back of the car looks pretty good as well. So might have lucked out on that one.
Yeah, it just looked like a slow roll into the Armco there.
Maybe a little wrinkled there on the right end plate of the rear wing. Just about it. But other than that, he looks, compared to Travis Schwenke, his teammates, damage that he's carrying around, that's nothing for Laster. So yeah, you can see a little bit of a wrinkle there in that rear wing, but that's probably about it. Pretty lucky.
Yeah, it certainly could be a lot worse. Now, we noticed that Arthur Chan had looked like he had just gotten by Laster going into the bus stop. I don't know if that maybe threw off Laster's entry, but certainly had the rear end come out on him on exit.
And so again, keeping an eye on that gap between Eisler and Chan. So we're kind of waiting for the laps to reset. There it is, about 51 seconds. Eisler staying out there just a little longer. We'll see if he makes it, like I said, about minute 10, so maybe about 3-4 more laps. He'll have to make his way in.
As we have about 25 minutes remaining here from Watkins Glen International, round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge.
Eduardo Lorente has also got himself, as you can see up there, into that second spot. I know we haven't talked about much about him tonight. There he is in that number 9, because the battle between Eisler and Chan has been so good. But Lorente, pretty solid effort here. Still with a pit stop to make, obviously, on track about 6 seconds ahead of Arthur Chan or so. But good solid race for him so far, trying to lock himself up with a podium here tonight.
Right, and from the drop of the green flag, Larry, he was hanging with both Eisler and Chan for about 10 laps or so, within maybe 2 car lengths, and then both Eisler and Chan started to stretch out the advantage somewhat. But yeah, very good race for Lorente tonight. He's kept his nose clean, and he's right up there in the mix.
Yeah, and that's sometimes what you got to do around here is you just got to kind of keep it clean and see how it plays out in the end. For Lorente, he comes in, I think, at about 7th in the points in the class, but did not play with us at Le Mans, so this will be good for him to get a couple of points here and maybe move himself up a couple of spots going into our last round. Shot of Arthur there. Coming down cross start finish one more time. 52 seconds that gap.
Yeah, so Eisler continuing to open things up as that fuel load goes down. With a much lighter load at the moment compared to Arthur Chan. We'll see what happens when the tables get turned, and Eisler may not have to, given where we are now with just a touch over 10 minutes remaining in the race, likely not going to have to take a full fill.
Right. Yeah, probably only about a half a load, as you mentioned. Yeah. We saw Arthur take on a partial load of fuel for his first stop, got him about 20-some minutes of fuel. That's probably about what Eisler's going to need here. And as you mentioned, that pit lane time on Arthur Chan's first stop was in that 50-second range. So it is lining up to be a pretty fair fight to the finish once Eisler gets that pit stop done. Which is the closest, to be honest, race for race, side by side, probably the closest we've seen these guys all year long.
Yes.
Every race, there'd been some kind of an incident that sort of got things mixed up. So far tonight, these guys have played straight up fair. Now it's a matter of getting that last pit stop in and seeing where they're at, and if it's going to be a dogfight to the end.
Well, it looks like Bobby Childs got sick of our pontificating here, Larry. He has left the comment. Well, I guess he was never in the commentary booth. He was always on the pit lane. But I think he's going to finish his ice cream in peace over there.
Yeah, maybe he forgot to sprinkle, so he had to go back to the kitchen.
And you know, there are a lot of ice cream shops in Watkins Glen. I think there are more ice cream shops per capita in Watkins Glen than probably anywhere else in America.
It's not the place to go if you're on a diet and trying to lose weight.
No.
You're like, oh, I'll just go out on the lake and row. You know how much rowing you have to do to wear off all the ice cream you end up eating when you're up there?
Don't ruin it for me.
And how many weeks to your next trip up there?
Oh, well.
We want to talk about that.
No, let's not talk about that.
Well, what I am seeing is now that lead Icer to Chan 54 seconds, so Christian's been able to pick up a little bit here by turning in some quick laps, while Arthur's not quite yet there with him. So this may be the opportunity that Icer needed to stretch this gap. He could be getting ready for an in lap by trying to lay down some real burners. Looks like he's coming up. I think that's Tony Kernan.
Tony Kernan just ahead of him, and just ahead of Kernan, I think, is Laster. Laster, you know, again, having lost a lot of ground in that spin coming out of the bus stop. And actually, I wanted to check and see where we were in relative lap times with Kernan versus Laster. Laster's still running a little bit faster pace, running a couple tenths ahead of couple tenths faster than Kernan.
Yeah, I think that car in front of Kernan is one of the other LMP2 cars. Might have been Charlie Bono, I'm not quite sure, but either way, Christian Ice was able to dispose of him relatively quickly, and again continues to stretch that lead over Arthur Chan, who's probably fighting his way through traffic on his own. But this is that moment. I think we're getting really close to Christian having to get in to make that last dash for fuel. As well as I think Eduardo Lorente probably also going to have to make his stop.
Yeah,
as
very,
I see
very
Jake
soon.
Gortz is still out there. That's good. And there it is. This is our pit stop.
Here we go, as Christian Eisler pits in from the lead with just under 20 minutes remaining here at Watkins Glen, and start the clock a-rolling, where actually it already started. So he is making his way down, and we're about 15 seconds in. Margin right now, Chan, and you can see here is Chan, at the time Eisler came in, was over 55 seconds back.
He should probably only need to stop for 20 to 22 seconds, something like that. We know that his first stop is about 33 seconds. Arthur's two stops are about 24 and 28. Eisler could be out of here a couple of seconds. Arthur now coming up to turn 10, trying to get around the 64 of David Payton.
And there we go. Eisler is
exiting.
out. Eisler back on track, coming through and out of turn one, up into the S's, just as Chan was coming onto the front straight. So that is going to give one heck of an advantage now to Christian Eisler, almost 14 seconds.
Yeah, I tell you, he burned in some really good laps right there before making his last stop. Helped him stretch out a couple of extra seconds. And really, at this point, that turns into be the difference in this race. Arthur, it says 14 seconds. We'll see if everybody's up to speed. If it stays there, if that is, that's 14 seconds. It'd be tough to erase in only the next 17 minutes.
It certainly will. As Eduardo Lorente came in, just as Eisler was heading out on track, Lorente came into the pits to start his final pit stop. And he is now back on his way, and it looks like he should be able to hold off Charlie Bono for
I tell you what,
third.
Christian Eisler may have saved fuel along the way. So if you add up the pit time for Arthur Chan, again, I think his first stop was about 24 seconds. His second was about 28 seconds. So roughly 52 seconds of stop time. Christian Eisler, first stop is about 33. Second stop, only 17. So he's actually able to save a couple seconds just sitting in his pit stall. Maybe perhaps he did save some fuel there on that first stop. Or we may be in for an interesting finish to this race.
Yeah, or we'll see if perhaps Eisler is doing his last lap at half speed.
Do his impression of one of our other Ricmotech drivers, John Allen, and see if he's got to save fuel leading to the finish.
That's right. Ooh, and Chan has to take some avoidance here, gutting around Robert Brist coming out of the final corner, as Arthur Chan almost went bowling with a AMG GT3 there.
Well, Arthur's avoided a couple of major wrecks tonight.
Yes,
he had the
and
issue
all
there.
at the same place, by the way.
Yes, he's avoided a couple, but you got to watch. You don't want to go and roll the dice too many times. At this point, getting a second place and solidifying his position in the championship would probably be a good objective for him. But Arthur seems to have that one gear, and it's to go, 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 and drive flat out.
You must drive flat out. As we come back
This
to
guy.
our leader, talking about driving flat out.
Yeah.
Esteban Rodriguez, who is he's a little bit off his pace now that he doesn't have Laster hounding him, Larry. He's down
Yeah, he
to
only
a
did a
34.
41.5 the last time by,
Yeah.
which is the second faster than anybody else on the track, except for Lasser's 41.9. Everybody else is in the mid 42s or 43s.
Yeah.
Esteban is just flying around here. Bobby may be right. There may be something about this Porsche, but you gotta pilot that thing. And right now, Esteban Rodriguez is faster than anybody else in this game tonight. On his own level, I tell you what, with Caleb Lavender out now for this race, this is Esteban Rodriguez's time to shine and maybe have an opportunity to get really close, potentially overtake that top spot in the championship. He just looks so smooth.
I was just gonna say I didn't want to say anything, Larry. I just wanted to sit back and just watch him for a couple corners here because he is so smooth. Talk about economy of motion there. Barely any movement in the hands, and I'm sure probably very smooth with the feet as well.
And to be honest, we said the same thing about this guy, Christian Eisler, in the past about how smooth he can be. And I think Esteban Rodriguez is doing the same thing behind the wheel of that Porsche. Just not any drama. Just the car is completely in control all the time and just efficiently using the tires what they're made to do at their maximum performance. And both these guys are just getting everything out of these cars over the full hour and a half, not just a 5-lap sprint and the tires are gone. These guys are making it work for the whole finish. As we get a shot of Arthur Chan slowly slipping away a little bit. He's solidly in second place, but 15 seconds back of the machine, the man, the myth up there, Eisler.
Yeah, he's lost about a half a second since Eisler returned to the track after his pit stop. But still, very, very strong race for Arthur Chan. I don't know, and we've seen where Eisler is just, I don't want to say a master at fuel saving in this car, but it seems to do it at another level that the other drivers can't match.
Yeah,
and
it really is
keeps
amazing.
the pace up while he's doing it, which is the amazing thing.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got a setup in a style that doesn't require much engine braking, and if you listen along at his shift points, he kind of waits to use the downshifts until he's actually at the apex of the corner. I drive this car and I'm trying to use the engine revs to get the thing to rotate for me, and this guy doesn't seem to need any of that. The car just kind of moves under him. It just flows, allowing to just maximum efficiency of tires and fuel. Yeah, he's solid. I should go up and look and see. I'm sure he ran the 12-hour at Sebring. I'd be curious where he finished up. I can tell you my team, not the top split, not in the top 10 of top splits. And we did not finish the top 10 in our own race. So,
well, that's because you were too busy trying to take Bobby Childs out, if I remember correctly.
There may have been a Bobby Childs in my race. Bobby did not last to the 4th lap of the race. I'll go on record saying I was not involved with that incident, but I was disappointed that I wasn't involved with that incident. No, I felt bad for Bobby that 3 laps in they were taken out. Those 12-hour races, you get all amped up. You practice all week. You wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. You sign yourself in, and by 8:05 your race is over.
Oof.
Yeah, that's rough.
Life imitating art. All right, as we're now following Andre Saunders, who, Larry, you might have a second opportunity. And again, I don't want to ruin it.
Don't you dare.
All right. But if Andre Saunders were to finish on the podium tonight, he could join us again at the end of this race.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if those chickens need to be counted at the end of the night. But he's having a good race here. His margin now up to 29 seconds over Jeff Jacobs. And as he had said in the pre-race interview, his goal was to just play it slow and steady, let the race come to him. His goal was to try and, by the end of the night, get back ahead of Steve Daniel in the points, because he was coming in third with Steve Daniel second and Jeff Jacobs in the lead. He looks like he's at least in a position right now to do that, with Steve Daniel a lap down, sitting there in 5th place. But, Jeff Jacobs doing everything he can to cling to points right now, sitting in second in this class. So this class could come down to our final round, and it'll be interesting because Saunders has shown some tremendous pace as the season progresses. And I tell you what, it's hard work, folks. This is, kids, do your homework, work hard, because you listen to him in the pre-race. He talked about having to really work on his pit stops and try to overcome the challenges of managing your something as simple as your keyboard when you're in VR in a helmet. He's worked on that. He's practiced that to try and take those weaknesses out of his game, and that's showing up here tonight.
All right, coming down for his looks like a second stop, Larry, is Tony Kernan. Or is this his first? This couldn't be his first stop.
If it is, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say he would have gone about 35, 40 minutes longer than we expected. But Tony Kernan now in his pit stall, and indeed it is his second stop. And he pits in from 4th place.
Well, that's going to vault Travis Schwenke into
in the
podium.
3rd.
Despite the damage, he's sitting in 3rd right now.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise that Kernan came in. I wonder if Kernan short-filled on the first stop that he didn't. But I mean, that's a lot, Larry. That's 10, almost 10 minutes. If he had short-filled, I can't imagine that it would have been that far off.
This doesn't look like a splash and go.
No.
He's 41 seconds and counting. I'm not sure what happened to Tony there. It's unfortunate. See much damage on the car?
Yeah, I'm looking to see if perhaps there was a note of him going off track. Yeah. And I don't see any, Larry.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Did he have an incident early where he had to come in for some repair and took some fuel on then, perhaps? I'm not sure. But either way, Tony back underway. Looks like he's probably going to be in about...
No, he's rejoined in 6th. Yeah.
But he's behind Chris Thorman.
Both Thorman and Peyton.
Yeah, the ticker hasn't updated with those yet until they cross start finish, but it will in a minute. There is Thorman, who we believe currently is 4th in class. Peyton should be 5th. Tony Kernan should be 6th in this class. So the 64 of Peyton again, probably doing what Bobby was trying to do, is just to keep the thing straight without that wicked back end stepping around on you. With nothing less confident and inspiring than having a big mid-engine, multi-100 horsepower GT3 car decide at a moment's notice
it wants
whatever
to be a pendulum. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very uneasy feeling, and now it looks like 64 of Peyton's got a very quick Esteban Rodriguez coming up behind them.
Yeah, coming right into the turn that's so problematic for the D2D guys. Yeah. Well, he holds on to it this time with no apparent issues. So he's done it now for somewhere around probably around 49, 50 times.
Yeah. As it looks like they're finishing their 48th, starting their 49th lap.
Yeah.
And Rodriguez again, just smooth as can be tonight. As the overall leader and the GT3 Pro leader are about to be side by side. There they are, Christian Eisler, Esteban Rodriguez. As Peyton and 64 just gonna sit there behind Esteban, maybe follow his lines a little bit. That's what I would do.
Well, yeah, I think that would probably be, if you want to learn something, that's probably the best way to do it. I was worried that Peyton might influence Rodriguez into making a little move right into the side of Eisler there, and thankfully Rodriguez held his line. It's pretty clear he knows what he's doing.
I love that line through 7 there as you climb the hill there at the toe of the boot. Kind of like turning in, almost feeling early. It's not the deepest late apex kind of corner. Just the way that corner is grooved. You just kind of turn in early and kind of ride maybe a mid apex around there. And you just kind of see a good view of Esteban doing that.
Yeah, and you can see as much as we talked about how smooth Esteban drives, much like Christian Eisler, to see how much fight there is in the car coming through turn 9, again, that slowest corner on the course.
Yeah.
You know, to really have to not only throw in one adjustment, but multiple adjustments to keep the rear end from walking around on you.
Yeah, it's just so smooth as he dips down, grabs just a hair of that apex there at 1, maximizing his exit, coming off at 1, and just foot to the floor up these S's.
As we've got now just 5 minutes remaining here at Watkins Glen, and we're on board with Esteban Rodriguez, who is currently your GT3 Pro leader, and with an almost 17-second advantage over his teammate William Laster.
That bus stop looked like he barely lifted. He was just so smooth through there. That's just crazy to watch. And I'm just in awe of how quick that car is across there. And again, his pace, he's 0.7 of a second quicker than his teammate.
Yeah.
Still turning 41s, an hour and 23 minutes on those tires.
Yeah, just mind-blowing. And, you know, and as well as this car handles, just to see how compliant it is, as you mentioned, going through the bus stop, and how it really eats up the curbing there without upsetting the car at all. And I keep comparing it to the LMP2 cars, as we saw Arthur Chan and Christian Eisler go there, where it looks like they're all 4 wheels in the air on the first left-hander through the chicane.
Yeah, not so much with Esteban's Orion Racing Porsche. Just so compliant, so smooth.
All right, and we're on board here, and I think this is probably the first time we've seen John Casey tonight. He's run a very quiet race as
This
Steve.
is for position.
Yes, it is. As Steve Daniel, who had that early spin at turn 10, trying to work his way back up through the field, and Casey holding him off for the moment. And you notice there that Bowman wasn't all that far up from them, and I think the Bowman was. Yeah, there's Bowman right there going into to 10, and I think that's for position also here. But this is the battle for, I believe, 5th in GT3 AM as they come onto the front straight with just
And I think
3
these
minutes
guys,
remaining.
they might be a lap down from Bowman.
Oh, yep. I think you're right.
Yeah. But this is a great little scrap, relatively, obviously equal platforms, probably running, somewhat similar setups around here. And it's a fun race to watch here, as great to see John Casey in a battle alongside there with Steve Daniel, who's had a bit of a rough night, probably happy to have something going on, as the 12 of Gortson seems to be in all the action tonight.
Yes. Tony Hawk Gortson there is he gets by going into the bus stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rough evening for the 12 car. All right, let's take a look, Larry. We've got something with Tony Kernan here as he follows. Is that Briss that he was following, or not Briss? Pardon me. He was following
Big drift.
Yeah, I think he was following Laster through the bus stop, and yeah, you could see there as he popped over the curb on the first left-hander, the car just got all out of sorts. Now, speaking of which, Larry, we were just following the action between John Casey and Steve Daniel, and
John
now
Casey
you'll notice
had his own big drift right in the middle of that as well.
Yes.
So we're watching that replay, and so that's left Steve Daniel awarded that position. But it does look like Casey was able to resume. A little bit of a rub of the wall, nothing too bad. Certainly not as bad as Steve Daniels hit in turn 10 earlier in this race. But you can see Casey in the background.
well, and John is. We went to about an hour and a half without seeing John Casey. Now he's going to get all the airtime he wants as we take a look as they come down through the chute, going down into the boot. And yeah, there you go, nice little drift through turn 6, and he gathers it back up. Yeah, just a little brush of the.
We gave him all the good love of airtime, and unfortunately, it's offset with a little bit of the. Of the oops moment there, but for John Casey, it was a great save, great drift around there to not
just a little brush of the styrofoam that's out there.
Yeah,
and great thing in here. Look at this. This is something we've been watching all night here. We've got Jeff Jacobs and David Payton. We saw this battle early on as Jacobs was for hanging on for dear life, trying to hold off the two D2D E-Racing entries of Thorman and Peyton, and he's still going at it with these guys.
And right now it looks like Jeff Jacobs might be the quicker, but as we've got 3 minutes to go in this race, your overall leader is Christian Eisler.
Well, not 3 minutes, Larry, about 30 seconds actually remaining here, as Eisler is making his way down now out of the bus stop and down to the inner loop. So I think we are on the last lap. And Eisler all by himself coming down out of the chute, down out of 6 and into the boot here. As we jump back, look at this, Larry, is both Jacobs and Peyton not giving it up yet. And yeah, so indeed. Oh, and so Larry, you may absolutely be right. We just got word from you that the clock on the ticker is wrong. Are you sure of that?
I'm just looking at it. Looking at a minute 28.
Okay. I'll take your word for it, because I'm nope. Checkered flag, Larry, in
checkers.
the air. And Christian Eisler is indeed your winner. How dare you? Christian Eisler taking the win tonight in LMP2. Flashing the headlights for Larry, so he knows that the race is over. And Arthur Chan now coming out of the final corners, coming through turn 10, over towards turn 11. Arthur Chan, he's going to bring that car home in second after jumping out. A great start for Arthur Chan, but the pit stop strategy just not able to keep up with Christian Eisler. He's going to finish a couple seconds back. And as we watch now, here we go, coming out of the final corners. That is the second car in line. That is the 29 of Esteban Rodriguez. And for the second race in a row, Rodriguez, he's going to take the win in GT3 Pro.
This one's not over here.
No, indeed it is not. Although, I believe, having crossed the line already, let's see if he's crossed the line. Indeed he did. Andre Saunders will take the win in GT3 AM. That right there. Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 StreetSurvival.org Lamborghini will come home second in GT3 AM. There's our winner, Andre Saunders. So it looks like, Larry, we will get to speak to him a second time this evening.
Yeah, that'll be, I think, the first time we've had that, where our pre-race interview is able to have a successful night and coming back. We didn't want to jinx him too much. You tried your hardest, but Andre's going to have that opportunity to talk to us both before and after. Maybe he's had enough of us, but I would love to talk to him and hear what his...
It could be. All right, so Eisler, your winner in LMP2. Arthur Chan second. Eduardo Lorente third. In GT3 Pro, Esteban Rodriguez, your winner. William Laster recovers from that late drift and spin in the number 31 Orion Racing entry. He will finish second. Travis Schwenke in the number 16 Orion Racing BMW. So an all Orion podium in GT3 Pro. He comes in third. And in GT3 AM, Andre Saunders in the Mohawk Racing BMW takes the win. Jeff Jacobs will finish second, and finishing third is DB Bowman, who made his way up all the way from the back of the GT3 AM field. He is going to take the last step on the podium for Dysfunctional Racing. All right, so Larry, let's take a quick break. We are going to come back in a few moments, and we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here from Watkins Glen International, where you have just seen round number 6 of 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Watkins Glen, where you've just seen 90 minutes of action on the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, powered by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. And again, your overall winner tonight, Christian Eisler, in the number 727 Punto Cielo Racing Dallara LMP2 car. Arthur Chan finishing second, as you can see there, 25 seconds in arrears. Eduardo Lorente will come home in third. In GT3, in the pro class, Esteban Rodriguez is your winner with William Laster and Travis Schwenke rounding out an all Orion Racing podium. And in GT3 AM, Andre Saunders in his Mohawk Racing BMW takes the win. Jeff Jacobs in the StreetSurvival.org Lamborghini will come home in second, and finishing third in the dysfunctional racing Audi. I love saying that, Larry. Every single time we say dysfunctional racing, I just think, that the guy's working extra hard to get a podium. And David Bowman, he comes home in third. So let's see. Looks like we've got some folks lined up here, Larry. And because it rolls off the tongue so well, why don't we talk to David Bowman from dysfunctional racing in his Audi?
All right, David Bowman has joined us. And David, great race tonight. Tell me a little bit about your race and how it went.
Actually, it wasn't too bad. I felt like everything was going smooth, and then all of a sudden, after probably about 5 laps after my pit stop, I just lost my tires and I started slowing down. It wasn't like I was pushing any less. I just had no more tires to give.
And that's with an hour and a half format, that definitely is one of those things to be able to hang on to some tires at the end. But you're able to get a podium finish here. So another podium. You had one, I think, earlier this season back at Mid Ohio. Even I think maybe another one even before that. So are you happy with this overall result here in this longer format?
I was actually. I was really pushing hard to try to catch up to Jeff, and I didn't think I was gonna be able to catch the leader there, but I figured I might have a chance with Jeff. But then, like I said, I just burnt my tires off trying to get to him, and so then it was just I'll just hold on and see where I can finish.
Yeah, well, congrats on another podium. That's a great finish there, bringing it up to a couple there, right in the middle of a points battle. Points are already updated. I'm taking a look here. I think you're now ahead of Robert Brist, still chasing John Casey, but season's not over yet. So we've got a couple more weeks, another round to go. Can't wait to see how this one plays out. Congrats on that podium tonight, and maybe we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks. I just wish I hadn't missed Le Mans. Missed my flight, and you know how it goes. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's
anyway.
Real life interfering with something like this really kind of stinks sometimes.
Exactly. But anyway, yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a good race, and I'll catch you guys next time.
All right. Thanks, David.
All right, there you go. DB Bowman, driver of the number 77. Let me say it one more time. It rolls off the tongue. The dysfunctional racing Audi, finishing third tonight in GT3 AM. And Larry, for the second time tonight, let's talk to Andre Saunders, driver of the number 72 Mohawk Racing BMW.
Andre Saunders talked to you about 2 hours ago. And let me see. You had a goal of let the race come to you. You had a goal of, get a good pit stop. You had a goal of get past Steve Daniel in the points. I think you checked all 3 of those boxes. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good, man. I feel pretty good. That, like I said, I spoke to you before, and everything kind of went to plan. If I got lucky and was ahead of those guys a little bit, so I can kind of manage my race and not overdrive and do stupid stuff. So I'm just happy I was able to pull it off. I've been trying to pull it off for like the last 3 races now, and I finally got it.
Yeah, for sure. You just look solid out there. I don't want. There's no such thing as a boring race, but you ran very clean, very smooth every time we went to you. You're just out there doing your thing. Very impressed tonight. Did the pit stop go exactly to plan? No need to peek around the VR headset or anything crazy.
Well, to be truthful, I kind of overshot it a little bit, and I was pissed at myself because I'm like, I practiced this and I still overshot it just a little bit. So I had to back up real quick. But from the deficit that I had, I'm like, okay, I should be okay. So, and it again, like before at the beginning of the race when I said to you, hey, I got a plan but you can never tell what traffic is going to do, right? So I just had to, and like I said, I'll just let the race come to me, and that's pretty much all I did. Every time I race, that's all I do. I can't do anymore, so I can only just try to be the best as I can in that particular race, and then just move on, forget about this race, it's done, and move on to next week, and hopefully have a good finish at 2 weeks to come for at Road America.
Yeah, it was a great race for you tonight. Got out to that early lead. The guys behind you were all fighting and doing their thing. You didn't have to worry about any of them. Able to just lay down your race, and even a little bit of a misstep overshooting the pits box, no big deal. We didn't even notice it. Your lead was pretty substantial, plenty of cushion there for you. In fact,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
checking the point standings. Looks like you're about 6 points down total now from Jeff Jacobs with that one round to go. You're like you
Ooh,
wanted to. You got past Steve,
ooh.
so
Yeah, I didn't know it would come so close, but I guess I didn't count on like leading the race the whole time to get that point, and I didn't also count on getting the pole too. So I guess I'm just gonna have to try really hard for the last race and shoot it out with Jeff and see if we
yeah.
can't come home with it here. So
I'm looking at another one here. Do I see a 0 incidents for that race you
yes,
just
I
ran?
no answer at all. And if I saw I was gonna make a mistake, I backed out so I wouldn't make a mistake. That was
I tell you
also another
what,
goal.
yeah, people don't understand this track. A lot of tracks these days, but this track and that turn one is
Oh
so
yeah.
hard to not catch those. To do that about 50 times, 53 times around this place without once putting a tire wrong in any corner. That's very impressive. So, congrats for the victory. Anybody you want to give a shout out to and thanks to tonight for this victory?
As always, my sponsors, Mohawk, these guys stand behind me regardless of when I put it in the wall and all that stuff. And then I also have a mental coach, Omar Veras. He's been there for me, man. He's been keeping me calm and stuff because I get pissed off at myself that I do stupid stuff. And he's just been there for me and my family. They're always there for me too. I used to be a race car driver. I can't drive anymore. So now this is my form of racing and this is what I come. This is my relief from the world.
I totally get that, and I definitely feel that same vibe. That's awesome for you. Great race tonight, and this is going to be a pretty exciting finish to this class come 2 weeks from now.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. I hope to give you guys a good show for the finale.
We're looking forward to it, Andre. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good night.
All right, there you go. Andre Saunders, driver of the Mohawk Racing BMW. And Larry, even if he doesn't give us a good show in 2 weeks, he gave us a hell of a show tonight. I mean, that was, and you
Absolutely.
saw it there, 0 incident points, an absolutely flawless
I
race
don't. I don't.
tonight from him.
We talked about that. The way the new scan is of that turn one, to do an entire race without once going across that and pick up a 1X. I mean, I'm looking at everybody else. Even Jeff Jacobs, always pretty clean, picked up 4 1Xs somewhere on the track tonight, and a few others as well. It is not easy. And what Andre just put on was kind of a clinic in just smooth, stay within yourself and let it come to you. And beautiful stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I'm taking a look, Larry, and I don't see anybody else sitting in the green room waiting for us. So it's a bit of a shame we didn't get to talk to Esteban or Christian, but hopefully we'll be able to catch up with them perhaps in our next broadcast. But why don't we do this? Why don't we take a look at what we've got coming up? And we've got some things we want to definitely talk about. Of course, next week, Monday night, April 11th, is going to be the season finale of the Classic Sprint Series. Those are our Mazda MX-5 drivers. They will be right here at Watkins Glen International, not for 90 minutes, only for 60 minutes. But it should be, and it always is, tight, close racing in the Mazda MX-5s. In 2 weeks will be the finale of the Ricmotech World Challenge. We are going to be heading to the National Park of Speed to Watkins Glen, to Road America up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for a 75-minute run to the checkered flag. And as we've talked, we're going to have a couple championships, I think, on the line there at Road America. And then, and this is where all of you listening at home can tell your friends, we are going to have the return of the sports car series, the Ricmotech sports car series. It's going to start May 9th, okay? And those are for the TCR cars and the GT4 cars. We're going to be opening up, lo and behold, right here at Watkins Glen International on May 9th. But the important thing is that you can join in on the action. If you go to extrememotorsports99.com/road-series, you can sign up and be a part of the action and race in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. believe me, when you see the, and you've seen the quality of the driving here in the other Ricmotech series, you definitely want to come join us. So if you like what you saw here tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV if you haven't done so already, and click on that notification bell. And you can always catch us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Apex Racing TV. For Lefty Larry McLeod, for Dennis Branch, for Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you next Monday night once again from Watkins Glen. Have a great week, everybody.
Let's go get ice cream.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.